People are protesting for all sorts of reasons, and buildings are getting blown up across the world, funded by the extra 7 cents on the dollar you pay for at just about everywhere you go. And yet, we've still been fooled to point the fingers at each other, when what we should all be doing is looking up and criticizing the fools above us, who actually started this whole mess to begin with. Honestly, I could care less which side of the aisle you're on, red or blue. I think we can both admit that neither of us are really at where we would want to be in life. And at the end of the day, we're all in the same boat when we reach the cashier at the end of the checkout line. Now, let's talk about that and explore some other people's thoughts and opinions about all this. And welcome back to the shit show. It's been a while. And I always like to start these videos out by giving a huge shout out to all the people that support the channel around here, the Patreon supporters, the channel memberships, everybody who checks those links down below in the description. Those are some of the best ways to support me and the content around here. Now, let's begin.
I feel like I'm gonna be sick. I just, looked through my Walmart history, and I found this, Walmart order from 2 years ago for the whole month worth of groceries. 45 items, cost $126. A whole month of groceries just for me, basically. But I did notice this reorder all button, and I wanted to see how much it would cost now. Now? This order of 45 items for 1 month would have cost $414. That is 4 times more. How the fuck? How? What?
Now, the way that inflation has affected the grocery prices over the last few years has definitely been felt by many Americans and many people all across the world, I can only imagine. But especially here in America, I can relate to, and it's really all I can really talk about, being that that's my experience and all I've really ever known. But at the end of the day, I'm just a single individual, so I can't imagine what this is actually like for people who have families, single mothers, and people out there trying to stay afloat with many people in their household or in their family. Definitely a hard thing to say. And even many people have been resorting to shopping at cheaper facilities, cheaper establishments like dollar stores, but we're going to touch on another video here, being that even dollar stores aren't even $1 anymore. Inflation and the way that tariffs and everything has made it, whatever the real cost is, really I think it's just capitalism. Companies realizing we can really price these items for whatever we want. People are going to be forced to pay it either way because they need to do what they need to do. So now the dollar store isn't even $1. Now my local dollar store is about $1.25. There's a couple items that are still $1, but really the ones that are the cheapest and really aren't even worth buying to begin with, or the most unhealthy options that you could ever even eat. But now we're going to watch a video where in some states, some places, and probably many places that are going to be going on around soon are going to be $1.75. So let's check this out.
And then in the midst of everything that's going on in America, I just came back from Dollar Tree where they let me know everything is going to be $1.75 starting next week. No longer $1.25, but $1.75. They jumped up a whole 50 cents. America, y'all.
Now, a measly 50 cents might not sound like a lot for many Americans who just blow $20 plus whenever they leave the house or step out the foot of the door to go outside. Might not seem like a lot. When you add that up to pretty much every single item that's on the shopping list, well, many people that are resorting to shopping at these establishments already are already trying to crunch the budget. They really don't have much money to work with. So when you pretty much up this to an extra 50 cents when we're already working with dollar stores here, we're damn near doubling our shopping list budget. And people that are already trying to spend $40 to maybe even $100 tops on their entire, weekly, even monthly budget sometimes, it can be very hard to make that stretch now when the dollar is not stretching as far as it was damn near a while ago. And as we saw by the first video, it's really known. Also, I guess they actually took off that feature in the Walmart's apps. I don't know if it's actually true. That's what I saw in the comments. Could just be propaganda. I personally don't use the Walmart app myself, so feel free to let me know if that's true down below. Crazy how they're trying to hide the truth because it's a harsh reality.
Almost first of the month, time to pay my housing rent, time to pay my TV rent, time to pay my movie rent, time to pay my phone rent, time to pay my internet rent, time to pay my medical rent, time to pay my phone rent, time to pay my dog rent.
For the majority of my life, bills have been any sort of expenses and payments have been like an overwhelming weight in the back of my shoulders, like a sneaky little devil that creeps up every single first of the month to just slap me in the face and remind me that, you know what, you're not free. You're never really in full control. Because no matter what you really want to say, even if you do fully own your house, you always pay some sort of property tax. Whenever you go to the grocery store, you always pay 7 cents on the dollar, like I mentioned in the intro. And no matter what you really do at the end of the day, especially if you want to own your own business and really live the full American dream, they're going to slap you with taxes harder than if you ever got your W-2s in the first place. Now, let's cover some other conspiracies and memes that I kind of want to touch on because some of these statements I think hold very true. Now, I saw this one the other day when I was scrolling on Facebook, and it's funny because I was actually thinking about deleting my Facebook lately, and I really am contemplating it, but I've had that account for over 15 years, and it's like a baby of mine. It's like, honestly, for 15 years, might be older than some people watching. That's not true, because these are 18 plus videos I set in the settings, but I remember people make fake accounts. That's what I did when I was 13, so who knows hello if you are. But imagine playing Monopoly and never buying an asset, any asset or investment that generates income. Imagine you just went around collecting $200, giving your money to the rich, and trying to stay out of jail. Sounds ridiculous? That's how most people live their lives. And I think this can really resonate with many of us, especially myself, because many people do just kind of go around the board hoping to do their best, kind of, follow the rules and stay within the guidelines, stay in your side of the lane, and just avoid jail at all costs or any sort of real punishment by the big bullies above. There really is just a gang. Let's be honest, the government and the police really just is a gang at the end of the day. And then you just never really invest, because most people don't really have many investments. I know people have their 401ks, they have their couple stocks, but really there's no control over that, and people don't really even know what they're doing with that. If you do have any sort of insider information, that's illegal, and you're going to get prosecuted for that, apparently, even though the people that genuinely do it, like Nancy Pelosi and some of those big politicians that have some of the record high profits to ever exist, they don't have any insider information supposedly, but they've never ever got in trouble for anything they've done. So, and there's actually no app now where you can just kind of copy these politicians, but that's kind of crazy to think that seems to not be illegal. It seems to be totally illegal, but I don't know. Feel free to let me know your thoughts, opinions regarding investing. I'm definitely not a financial advisor, but I know one day I'm gonna have to put some money into this, because if I ever want to retire one day, if I ever make it there to begin with.
Well, I got pulled over again today for the fifth time in the last few months, and it's for an expired tag, because they want too much money for my tag and I can't afford it. So I keep getting pulled over and keep getting tickets for an expired tag because I don't have the money to do it. So I'm being punished for being poor by the people that are telling me to get the tag. I feel like it's like strong arm robbery every time I get pulled over. It's like I can't. That's the only reason why I get pulled over is things like that, not for speeding or violations. It's because either my registration's off because I can't afford to pay it, or something to do with insurance because I can't afford to pay it. It's always something I can't afford. It's not for breaking any laws or anything. It's just for I don't have any money. That's why I get pulled over. It's crazy. They're punishing us for being poor.
Oh, being punished for being poor, a thing I know all too well. But isn't it kind of funny? This guy seems to be very, very proud of his country. He has an American logo on his head. He has a long-ass beard and seems to be really proud of his country until he gets pulled over by the gang of the U.S. And, like the police are the enforcers. They really, hound the law, even though many of them don't seem to really know the law themselves. Whenever they seem to pull over lawyers and stuff, you've seen all those true crime videos and those funny YouTube clips always get brought around. I'm not saying I hate cops. No, there are very good ones out there, and I do know that we need them in our society. But I actually saw this ad over here recently because I have at least two people that I graduated with, and I walked with my class from high school that became cops in my local area, and they always post these different job listings about how easy it is to become a cop. And then we always wonder why some of the cops maybe just don't really care about other people, because they make over $100,000 a year, apparently, is what they're trying to tell me in this job application. I'll throw up right here if I could find it again. This is for my local police force, and make it sound so easy. I know you need like 2 years of whatever, and you need to not be experienced, but most people don't have really any experience with criminal law or law enforcement. So this is really open for anybody and really open for grabs, apparently. And I kind of like how they make it like advertisement, almost like it's some sort of TikTok shop sale where they're you have to get it by July something because you only got 2 more weeks. Make sure you get in, so you can enforce the law. And especially in the state I live in, you probably don't want to be a cop most of the time anyway. But it's really kind of crazy to think how the majority of people who don't really have money, and are really the people keeping the system running, the majority of the minions of the society keeping it all turning, they are the ones not really making enough money, and the people that really enforce the law make way more than the average salary, at least in terms of what the Google statistical stats, the median average is, whatever you want to call it.
Cops need to have a 4-year degree. Here is the salary of an LAPD officer. You only need 6 months to 1 year of training to earn this salary. And after a 4 year as an officer, your salary goes up another $5,000. So it's no wonder cops don't know the law. Imagine how many officers were no good at anything else, didn't have the drive to study, are borderline narcissists looking for power, look at the salary and say, what do you mean you'll pay me $100K for 6 months of school? And I get to tell people what to do. No wonder they all have anger problems and borderline narcissistic personality while actively lying to the American citizens they're supposed to be protecting. Didn't join to become an officer. We have people joining the police force for all the wrong reasons, and we give them every reason to do that. So if we're gonna give them a 6-figure salary like we do for most 4-year degree requiring jobs, make being a police officer require a 4-year degree with training. in that degree, they learn the law with classes on empathy, compassion, and de-escalation tactics. Because clearly the 6 months to a year is not enough. The fact that it is common knowledge that policemen beat their wives should be a red flag for the type of people this job attracts. It's too easy for too much money, and in the job where they're supposed to be serving, we give them too much power. Because when they get fired for doing something crazy, they just get rehired at another department. 4-year degree to be a police officer.
Now, what really rubs me the wrong way about this is the overall incentive that they're trying to push of why you wanted to get in this position or this role in the first place. At least in the military, the army, or any sort of, service ad, they at least push, like, they're going to do it for your country. It's some sort of, like, fulfilling, wholesome reason. Versus this is just, like, get the biggest amount of money for the lowest amount of schooling you can ever hear about, and pretty much no debt, easy money, and you get to have a bunch of power. When in reality, police officers are probably one of the few people in modern day society that have a lot of control over your life, my life, and everybody's life, and really get looked past and actually get let go the majority of the time anything goes wrong. I mean, despite the most severe cases where they actually get punished because society forces that to go down, because otherwise the police unit will take too much backlash. But at the end of the day, a lot of them end up being corrupt, and I feel like almost every sort of government agency that is so big is corrupt on some level in small dividends. Just like any company or corporation, not everybody really follows the rules. It's just kind of how humans work. But yeah, I'd love to hear all your guys' thoughts and opinions regarding anything discussed in today's video. Feel free to let me know all that down below in the comments. I always love to read those, and I always like to respond to the ones I see fit. And I'm sorry that I took a little of a break for the videos for the last week or so. I've had a lot of stuff behind the scenes and stuff personal reasons. I'm a human at the end of the day, and sometimes it can be hard to be consistent, and also up again in my head, so sometimes you got to step away, take a break, and then come back in action. So it's kind of nice to take a little break, and now that I'm back, expect daily uploads, so expect to see that a lot more, and I hope you enjoyed. So feel free to let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Again, a huge shout out to everybody who supports me in the donation links down below in the description. If anybody wants to throw a couple dollars towards the Top Ramen Noodle Fund, that always keeps me going. So anyway, I appreciate you guys, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.